Welcome to the Mini Break, your daily podcast for the biggest storylines, results, and controversies from the tennis world. Today is Tuesday, July 1st, day 2 of the 2025 championships at Wimbledon, now officially in the books. Chaos, that is our theme. Absolute chaos unfolding as there were upsets in both the men's and women's singles draws that, of course, will dominate the headlines coming out of Tuesday's play. Of course, on today's podcast, what I want to do for all of you tennis fans is break down any of the action you might have missed, recap everything we learned from day 2 of these championships. Of course, I want to start, as always, with my biggest headlines to emerge. Of course, first and foremost, I've already mentioned it, upsets everywhere. On the women's side, for the first time in the Open era, 3 top 5 seeds knocked out in a single day. It was reigning French Open champion Coco Gauff. It was our champion just last week on the grass courts in Jessica Pegula. And of course, it was 5th-seeded Zheng Qinwen, all knocked out here on today, all in specific fashions that, again, I want to break down the nuances of. But of course, if that wasn't enough, we had chaos on day 1. On the men's side, that continued into day number 2. Of course, you had a couple of matches continuing from the night prior. Taylor Fritz did ultimately ground out a 5-set win, but it was Sasha Zverev, your number 3 seed, knocked out in 5 sets by Arthur Rinderknecht. Of course, he wasn't your only seed knocked out on the day, as of course on the men's side, again, 6 more seeds tumbling overall, of course, whether it be top seeds like Lorenzo Musetti, a semifinalist last year, whether it be a guy in Sasha Bublik, who of course won a title on the grass courts in Halle in the lead up to this event, gets knocked out round number 1 by Jaume Munar. Chaos. Absolute chaos. Makes it really fun. As a tennis fan, you were certainly on the edge of your seat all day monitoring the action. But, of course, there were 64 singles matches across both the men's and women's singles competitions. More than that, actually, today, given our continuations. Impossible to follow everything unless it's your full-time job, like it is mine here at Cracked Racquets. So, of course, on today's podcast, I want to continue our daily recaps. I want to break down everything, talk about the headlines, then try to mention every result. Who are the players who survived in deciding sets? Who were the top seeds that looked the part? Dare I say here today, of course, a couple of categories of players, Americans, the players with college tennis ties who continue to thrive at this 2025 Wimbledon. I want to break them all down, get you ready for day number 3 as well, talk about my favorite matches in both the men's and women's singles draws. Hopefully, by the end of this podcast, you will be well acquainted with everything that happened on day 2 and well prepared for all of the action that may unfold on Wednesday. Of course, this edition of the podcast, if you are listening to it in that form, is also live, being recorded on YouTube. So for those of you joining us here live, appreciate all of you taking the time. Obviously, if you've got any questions you want me to answer from day number 2, would be happy to do so here on this show. And perhaps if you are listening to this in podcast form, it will incentivize you to go subscribe to our Cracked Racquets YouTube channel, where I'm going to try and be live as much as possible throughout the course of this Wimbledon. You'll get a notification whenever we go live by subscribing to the YouTube channel. So take the 5 seconds, go hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the Mini Break podcast feed so you don't miss out on any of our content. And then, of course, if you're looking for an update on everything happening across levels in the tennis world, the Great Shot podcast feed, the Crack Interviews podcast feeds, just more content for all of you tennis fans to enjoy. Go click that subscribe button. Of course, a shout out to all of you who already have. A shout out, of course, as well to the support we get from our dear friends at the Laurel Springs School. To learn more about why they continue to rank among the best private online schooling options in the country, go to laurelsprings.com today. Laurel Springs, proud partner of the Mini Break podcast feed. All right, let's get into it. Let's break down what was certainly a wild day 2 of this 2025 Wimbledon. And, of course, first and foremost, the top headline on the day, the thing we will all be talking about as we look back upon this fortnight in the future. Absolute chaos unfolding in round number 1. It started on the men's side yesterday, where, again, we lost Medvedev, we lost Rune, we lost, I think it was 7 top men's seeds overall on day number one. Obviously, to see that number nearly matched with 6 seeds knocked out here today. For those of you curious, got the stat from our friends at Tennis TV. Ties for the most seeds ever eliminated in round one of a major in the Open era. 13 seeds. 13 knocked out in round number one. Of course, another record set. You had 8 top 10 seeds overall. Again, 8 top 10 seeds on the men's side. Zverev, Musetti joining Rune, Medvedev with round one exits. On the women's side, obviously, Goff, Pegula, Qinwen joining Badosa. They have all been knocked out in round number one. That combined 8 top 10 seeds overall. That's the most we have ever seen at any major in an opening round eliminated in round number one. So 2 stats that set the tone of what we learned from round number one. And in particular on the men's side, I don't know if we can be extraordinarily shocked by the results we have seen. Obviously, I've alluded to this point repeatedly of late, but despite how good Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner are and their relative excellence, having all of us feeling as though the future of the men's game, the top of the men's game, will be particularly healthy for the next decade as long as we have those 2 guys competing for championships, because certainly the show they put on the French Open, it's one none of us will be forgetting anytime soon. However, beyond that, I mentioned the statistics yesterday. Daniil Medvedev, 1-3. Overall at the majors this season. Holger Rune has made a couple of round of 16s, but no quarterfinals to now go along with this first round exit. Obviously for Musetti to have semifinalist points here last year that now disappear from his resume. He has a first round exit. He had been banged up. He had no matches in the build-up to this Wimbledon, and again, was clearly dealing with an injury down the home stretch of that match still. He gets eliminated right away. Sasha Bublik, who Gil Gross, our dear friend, had in the top 10 of his power ranking as an upshot pick to potentially make a deep run, and certainly coming off of a quarterfinal at the French Open, the title in Halle. It was a legitimate case to make why his big serving downhill tennis should find success, particularly given the state of the relative rest of the field. Obviously now, by the way, it's not just Medvedev. I think Tsitsipas is 1-3 overall at the majors so far this season as well. Just the continued, the drop-off of the original next-gen crew, it has continued here at Wimbledon. And again, I haven't mentioned the name Sasha Zverev. It is worth noting, Sasha Zverev, even with this loss, he's still sitting at 3rd in the points race. And yeah, Draper will probably pass him with his success here at Wimbledon. Heck, Djokovic probably passes him as well with his success. Zverev is still going to make the tour finals. He's still going to finish in the top 8. He's still on pace to do that. This has never been the slam where he has excelled. Obviously, he's yet to make a quarterfinal at this major. It was how he lost this match that just added to the totality of disappointment in what has otherwise been, the guy is the 3 seed. He's 3 in the points race right now. Crazy to say someone 3 in the world who has made a slam final is experiencing a disappointing season, but certainly for a guy who should be at the peaks of his powers age-wise, his age 28 season. Yes, he made that slam final in Australia, but the way he lost that final so definitively to Jannik Sinner, then Sinner's out for a couple of months. He can go chase world number 1, just has that balloon so quickly deflated by his early exits at Indian Wells, in Miami. Disappointing clay court season. Yes, he managed to grab a 500 title in Hamburg, but outside of that did not excel in ways he has in the past, whether it be in particular at Rome or in Madrid. Quarterfinal exit where he grabs the opening set and then just plays so tentatively against Novak Djokovic. And that theme, that tentativeness down the home stretch, it permeated once again. It always permeates through a loss like this for Sasha Zverev at the majors. And look, it's a massive credit to Arthur Rinderknecht. Rinderknecht, by the way, one of our guys here at Cracked Racquets, former Texas A&M All-American. We've been fortunate enough to have him on the Cracked Interviews podcast a couple of times. Those of you who know the 6'6" Rinderknecht, he wants to play downhill. He's looking to get forward. He did an exceptional job of doing that in this match. Rinderknecht approaching the net 55 times, converted 44 of those 55 attempts. 80% conversion rate at the net against a guy in Zverev, who I would argue has some of the best passes in the sport. That didn't matter because, one, of the surface we are on, those passes are just inherently going to be worse. You don't have your feet under you the way you would on other surfaces. 2, spot serve, like just his cutter wide in particular, getting Zverev stretched on that forehand wing. He would leave something short. Rinderknecht +1 forehand to the open court. He's in behind it. He is knifing off first volleys throughout the course of this match. That just wasn't the case for Sasha Zverev, who, by the way, goes 0 for 9. 0 for 9 on breakpoint chances in this match. Zverev hit 31 aces in this match. Zverev won 76% of his first serve points, made 76% of his first serves, was up 40-love in the game where he was broken in that deciding set. It was, look, the one glass half full moment for Sasha Zverev. If I'm trying to show him a point from this match to lift his spirits and say, look, this is the guy you can beat. Down a mini break, 4-set tie break, Rinderknecht serving. Zverev proactive with his feet to find an inside-in forehand that ultimately draws the error from Rinderknecht. That aggressive mindset, that willingness to play that ball inside in, be proactive with his footwork, go after something. That gear, that tennis is within him. It's about trusting it in the biggest moments. And unfortunately for Zverev, that's just wasn't the case, and that is best epitomized by the match point. Got good depth on the return. Rinderknecht gave him something sitting up, shoulder height, for him to truly accelerate into. Had a couple of backhands. Could have been far more aggressive with. Played them middle third in that rally. Ultimately, of course, Zverev able to... Rinderknecht does get a short forehand from Zverev. He gets in behind it. He knocks off, he knocks off the first volley. He's home. Like, Arthur Rinderknecht, I said it earlier, 44 of 45 at the net. Zverev hit 31 aces in this match. He didn't hit as many winners as Rinderknecht, who had 25 aces himself, by the way, 6'6", as I mentioned. This is the perfect surface for his attacking tennis to pull off a victory like this. But, I mean, again, it was the tentativeness from Zverev. That entire last service game, missed a bad return in it. Again, anytime he got himself in a rally, he did nothing with that ball. He sat it in the center of the court and hoped Rinderknecht would give him either an easy approach or do something loose on the volley, and that just wasn't the case. You look for Zverev in the attempts he did move forward, 19 of 38. I think there were 4 distinct moments I can turn to in the tiebreak he lost in the opening set. And again, the danger he put himself in from up 40-love to getting broken in that 5th set. 4 volleys that he just hung for Rinderknecht to pass on. And you can't do that, even on this surface, because these guys are just too athletic across the board again. It's a massive moment for Arthur Rinderknecht. Maybe not from a rankings perspective, because it's only reaching round 2 of the event for Rinderknecht to make a real push. Again, got to make round 3, got to make a second week. He is sitting 72 in the world, obviously, with this victory. Rinderknecht going to move up to 71. So shout out to him in the live rankings. But you look for Arthur Rinderknecht in his career against top 10 opponents. Rinderknecht coming into the match 1-16 overall. That one win came against Ben Shelton earlier this month in Queen's Club. Had never beaten a top 10 player at a major and had played top 10 players at the majors 5 different times coming into this one. Pushed Rublev to 5 sets at last year's U.S. Open, has pushed a couple of players to 4 sets as well. That's the nature of the attacking tennis he can play. If he serves well, he is in the match. Today, serving well, being the aggressor, getting forward, again, taking advantage of a tentative Sasha Zverev who was trying to play clay court, hard court tennis on a grass court, a surface where that sort of tentativeness, that sort of defensiveness, it's just not going to work. I mean, again, with the rest of the draw crumbling around him for Zverev to lose this match, make no alterations in his game plan from yesterday to today. I served well. Like, again, 31 aces, made 75% of his first serves. With his first serve, you just can't lose when you're serving that well. You can't. Not early, not ever in a major. And it was everything else. The serve that so prominently was a problem for him in the biggest moments early in his career. It's not that anymore. It's the tentativeness, and certainly he reflected that in his post-match press conference. I don't want to beat up on Zverev much more because you could tell he was just so deflated after that loss, knowing exactly why it transpired. Glass half full, man. Arthur Rinderknecht, 1-16 against top 10 opponents, 0-5 at the majors against top 10 opponents. Now he gets this sort of victory to advance, and certainly, again, the draw, that quarter in particular, absolutely wide open. You look at the seeds already eliminated in that section. Zverev, Medvedev, Cerundolo, Popyrin, Berrettini. 5 of the 8 seeds in that section already eliminated, and certainly for Rinderknecht now to face a lucky loser in Christian Garin, a guy who has made the quarterfinals of Wimbledon in the past. It's him, Garin, Quinn, Mychek still alive in that section of the draw. There's a serious pathway for Arthur Rinderknecht to round 2 to make a significant rankings leap, and now all of a sudden you're top 50. You're getting into the main draw of Canada. You're getting into the main draw of Cincinnati. You are playing a thoroughly full and opportunity-rich North American hardcourt summer. It's a massive moment for Arthur Rinderknecht. It's a testament to playing attacking tennis, being the aggressor in the biggest moments. Boy, again, upsets everywhere. Zverev falling. Again, Musetti was banged up. Basilashvili can still bang. Like, that contact point ain't going anywhere. The explosiveness of the ball he can hit off the baseline, exceptional. But look, again, you could tell Musetti just did not have his legs underneath him. And when he lost that long, competitive third set, you could tell that one was over. The serve just didn't have any juice. The improvisational excellence, even on this surface, wasn't there. It felt like he was bailing out of so many rallies with drop shots. It's a credit to Basilashvili. Keeps you in the ball game when you're making second rounds at majors. Basilashvili, the 4-set win. And then, look, for Sasha Bublik, his chance was that 4th-set tiebreak. He was up 2-1. Certainly, again, was going to be a tricky match regardless, taking on a guy in Munar who has played some of the best ball of his career and is just in a different sort of shape. The ball's coming in just a little bigger now than it once did. Ultimately, again, it's a credit to Munar that he's able from 2 sets to love down to take that 2nd-set tiebreak 7-5, take the 5th set 7-6. But you look for Bublik, I mean, again, first serve percentage was under 60%. The unforced error count was 67 to Munar's 32, 28 of 39 at the net to Munar's 43 of 64. And I'm telling you, man, Munar gets forward. It's the quickness of his first step. It's the ease with which he can change direction, follow that forward, and just force you to hit some sort of passing shot on the stretch with a ton of open court for him to play with, and executed those first volleys into the open court so exceptionally well. Bublik had his chances. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You look in that 4th set that Sasha Bublik was able to break serve within that set. If he breaks serve in a grass court, he should never lose that set. And ultimately, again, falls short in that tiebreak. Just got a little bailout drop shot in that 4th set tiebreak. I don't want to say it's the difference, but you just can't bail out against a guy like Munar. It's a great win for Munar. Again, I mentioned the season that Munar is having with this victory. He is up to 55 in the live rankings, 3 off his career high as the 28-year-old. Tough loss for Bublik, just given all the momentum that he had built. Again, Gil Gross named him a top 10 contender, and I didn't hate the argument. You could see the pathway for him, given the openness of everything in the men's game this year. But again, credit to Jaume Munar, knocks him off 3 of your 6 upsets here on day 2 on the men's side. Of course, on the women's side, for the first time in Open Era history, 3 top 5 seeds knocked out here on day number 2. And look, I got to watch all 3 matches here today. It's my job to watch all 3 matches. I want to start with the most prominent, certainly on paper, of the upsets. Diana Yastremska knocking out second-seeded Coco Gauff 7-6, 6-1 now. Not to pat myself on the back, because I didn't full-on predict the upset, as perhaps I boldly should have, but you could see the outline sketch of this one coming. Certainly for a Diana Yastremska who went quarterfinals in her 2 grass court warm-up events in the lead-up to this Wimbledon, the power tennis that she has played, the consistency with which she has played this year. Diana Yastremska closing in on a single season high in terms of tour level victories, and we still have 6 months to play. She's currently at 22, 11 to go, but again, still a full half of the season to play. Diana Yastremska, who has made 2 finals this season. Yastremska, whose ranking 42 in the world isn't based upon one result, but based upon 6 months of success, 2 third rounds for her at the majors this season as well. Diana Yastremska has found a consistency here this year that, given the power that she can play with, given her ability to take any opponent's racket out of their hand, because she can be that explosive, because she can be that improvisational with the aggression, and spontaneous is a better word than improvisational with the aggression, because she has a quick first step. She's a heck of an athlete. Obviously, when she broke in as a teenager in 2019, you thought she would be playing Coco Gauff in second weeks of majors by this point of her career, now in her mid-20s. That wasn't the case for a complement of different reasons. But she has found the standard Diana Yastremska tennis is at a higher level than it had ever been. And that's Coco Gauff's standard level of tennis on grass courts is lower than her level of tennis on the other surfaces. There's a reason she had never made a quarterfinal at Wimbledon before, a reason the pace of Wang Xinyu was able to disrupt her so thoroughly in the one warm-up match that she played this month leading into Wimbledon. That's what you saw for Yastremska, who really probably should have won this match 3-1. It's a credit to Coco Gauff, the competitor. I mean, again, just finds ways to stay alive. And when she broke, she held, she leveled things for 5-all. I thought for sure, oh yeah, we're going to go, she's going to steal this first set, and Diana Yastremska is going to see her opportunity missed. But man, there are a couple of balls in particular. For one, the way Diana Yastremska held for 6-5, I think she lost the opening quarter of that game. Three strong points, solid points with deep outer third depth into the Gauff forehand. Gauff eventually producing, I believe, 3 errors during the course of that game, and then an easy hold for Yastremska 4-6-5. Gauff able to get things pretty easily to the tiebreak, but Yastremska 5-3 up in the tiebreak. Gauff is serving, a chance to, again, narrow the deficit, put more scoreboard pressure on Yastremska, and Yastremska goes forehand line on her return of serve. It was a good first serve from Gauff. It got Yastremska stretched outside the alley, outside of the net post, and Yastremska just blitzes a forehand return line. She hit a similar one to get her opening break in set number 2, but it was backhand inside in line. She was finding the backhand line so smoothly throughout the course of the match. She was just, this is the best version of Diana Yastremska. And did Coco Gauff play well? No. No one would accuse Coco Gauff of playing particularly well in this match. The first serve was atrocious today, 45%, 9 double faults. The forehand then left her out. 6 winners against 29 unforced errors for Coco Gauff. That speaks to she was never able to find her front foot, and the biggest reason for that is the serve was just not there for her. And because the serve was not there for her, she was throwing up hanging curveballs of second serves, and Diana Yastremska is playing too well. The power tennis was exceptional. Yastremska was better, just at everything, than Coco Gauff here today. And again, Coco Gauff getting that first set to a tiebreak is a testament to how well Coco Gauff competes. Just found way better. You could tell when she got broken down 5-3, just the first return she hit was so much more aggressive, and then she laced an inside-in forehand return on the second point. Like that, Coco Gauff, it woke her up, that early deficit, but ultimately the game just wasn't there for her today. And look, the European summer is mission accomplished. She won major number 2. She beat Sabalenka in a freaking final. She's still, again, she's sitting, I think, right now at 4th in the points race right now. But even if Iga Swiatek wins this Wimbledon title, even if Madison Keys wins this Wimbledon title, Coco Gauff is going to be 2nd in the rankings no matter what happens after this Wimbledon. Yeah, like, mission accomplished for Coco Gauff going into a North American summer where, of course, she has always thrived. But this is a statement victory for Diana Yastremska, who, of course, was 0-3 against Coco Gauff in their 3 prior battles to this. You look for Diana Yastremska in her career against top 10 opponents. Yastremska coming into it 5-19 overall. She hadn't gotten a top 10 win since 2024 Australian Open. You look for her now at the majors in her career. She's 2-3 against top 10 opponents. Got that win over Vondrousova. A couple losses to Gauff, Rybakina, Svitolina, but now this win over Gauff as well. I mean, again, for Diana Yastremska, it's just a steadiness to her this season that never before in her career has she possessed. She's always had the firepower. She's always had the 15 minutes of breathtaking tennis within her. Starting to stack those 15 minutes upon one another, starting to multiply those 15 minutes within the course of a single match. She just took the racket out of Coco Gauff's hand today, never allowed Gauff to find any easy offensive rhythm because anything Coco Gauff set center, she attacked behind. I was so impressed by Diana Yastremska today. Again, a 7-6, 6-1 victory over Coco Gauff. And certainly disappointing for the reigning French Open champion to get knocked out in round number 1. Big picture, it was the serve. And when the serve goes away, particularly on this surface, with the forehand being what it is, she is going to be in trouble. The margin for error is less on this surface because she can't double down upon her athleticism the way the other surfaces allow her to from a movement perspective. Still, it's a credit to Yastremska. It's a credit to Elisabetta Cocciaretto. Cocciaretto was freaking awesome today in a 6-2, 6-3 victory over Jessica Pegula. I don't think Jessica Pegula played particularly poorly. I just thought Cocciaretto, First of all, Pegula hit only 5 winners in this match because she was always on her back foot. Cocciaretto was going after every return of serve with a line drive pace and relentlessness that was just so thoroughly impressive. She won 80% of her second serve points. She lost just 8 points on serve today. Elisabetta Cocciaretto. The +1 was so sound. And, again, Pegula is a rhythm returner. It's always great depth, but you can get a read on her ball after a while. And Cocciaretto didn't. It just felt like the line drive played right to what her strike zones, right to what she wanted. She had Pegula on a string, again, with that +1 tennis. Elisabetta Cocciaretto was exceptional today. And certainly given the fact that Jessica Pegula won the title last week in Bad Homburg, beat Iga Swiatek in that final, made that round of 16 at Roland Garros, felt like she was rounding into form after a disappointing European clay court stretch. Obviously for Pegula, this is really tough because now she's got Canada, she's got Cincinnati, and U.S. Open. Significant points at all 3 events. Finals and a title at all 3 events that she's got to defend now over the course of the rest of this summer. This was the last event for her to pad her stats to protect her ranking. She's still 6th in the points race. That's probably going to fall to like 8th. Maybe she holds at 7th coming out of this major championship, so she's still very much in the hunt for what would be, I think, a 5th consecutive tour finals, which would just be exceptional. But it's a tough loss, and certainly for the American women, having Madison Keys win the Australian Open, having Coco Gauff win the French Open, you had 3 of the top 6 seeds in the draw. You lose 2 of them in Gauff and Pegula in round number 1. I think more broadly, it's been a pretty good round 1 for the American women. Again, you had the Anisimova 0-0 victory as well, but then you have this happen. Again, Pegula, Gauff, each knocked out here today. Of course, Zheng Qinwen knocked out as well. You knew this one would be tricky. It was certainly on the upset alert, given the fact that she was facing someone in Katerina Siniakova, who has won a grass court title at the tour level, who has played over 50 matches on this surface relative to the inexperienced Qinwen. This is also a tricky surface for Qinwen, given the length of her forehand backswing, her ability to dominate you with the heaviness of her ground strokes. This is not a surface that gives you time to get into those sorts of backswings that she may need. I mean, Siniakova just took it to her with the line drive pace. And again, Siniakova 7-5, 4-6, 6-1, able to pull away down the home stretch. You could tell Qinwen, once she lost the forehand, just lost the confidence in this match. And certainly you look for Qinwen in this one, also someone who didn't have a particularly sharp serving day, made just 55% of her first serves, 38 unforced errors to Siniakova's 28. Would have liked to see her move forward more. Only 12 attempts at the net. Try to take it to Siniakova. Force her to get stretched. Force her on the back foot. Again, Qinwen just didn't have enough rhythm from the ground, enough rhythm behind her first serve to do that today. 3 top 5 seeds. Again, in a season where the best players have typically played the best at the biggest events. Wimbledon is the place. It provides the opportunity for classy chaos, and certainly that's what we saw. Not even classy, it's just outright chaos here today. 3 top 5 seeds eliminated for the first time in a single day in an opening round in tennis history. Of course, on the men's side, 13 seeds knocked out overall, the most at tying for the most at a single major championship ever. And then, of course, the most ever, 8 top 10 seeds between the men and the women knocked out in round number 1, the most ever at a single major championship event. Upsets everywhere. That's the theme, certainly, of days number 1 and 2 in this opening round at Wimbledon. That is what we will remember it for, and certainly that was the biggest theme of the day as well. The prominent upsets: Yastremska over Gauff, Cocciaretto over Pegula, Siniakova over Qinwen on the women's side, and then, of course, Rinderknecht over Zverev, Basilashvili over Musetti, Munar over Bublik on the men's side. Of course, with all of those upsets, now you ask the question, who's the favorite in the bottom half of the women's singles draw? Again, when you had Pegula, her section of the draw was always the open section, given the inexperienced Andreeva was her fellow top 8 seed, given the fact that you had Keys, Sabalenka in the same quarter of the draw at the top half. Last year's finalist Paolini in the top half of the draw, the big hitting Anisimova in the top half of the draw. My pre-tournament prediction was Swiatek to make the final, just because of my uncertainty in the level of so many of the top contenders in that bottom half of the draw, and I think you have to make Swiatek now the favorite to make the final moving forward. Certainly you look at the Tennis Abstract singles forecast, that bottom half of the draw, Swiatek is your favorite. 24.5% according to the numbers. Alexandrova, your favorite now to emerge out of what was the Pegula quarter, 12.1%. Rybakina's 12% after that. No one else in double digits. Swiatek, Rybakina, Alexandrova. Now your favorites in the women's singles bottom half. I think that makes sense. You look at each of their round one performances. Swiatek, pretty comfortable, 7-5, 6-1 win over Polina Kudermetova. Rybakina, dominant in a 2-1 win over an Avanesian who, given her defensive nature, she's never going to be beaten. Front foot Rybakina. Rybakina served really well. She looked good here in her 2022 champion in her opening round victory. Alexandrova, untested, 2-5 over Patricia Hahn, and typically for Alexandrova, it's either lose round one or make a deep run. Looming. You look for Alexandrova, still has, no other seeds remaining in her section. Wang Xinyu's got some power to disrupt the rhythm of Alexandrova. That would be a potential third-round match. Bencic on this surface, no. I mean, if Cocciaretto continues with the level she showed today, sure. But boy, Alexandrova into round number 4, and Alexandrova with a real shot at a first major quarterfinal in what is maybe not the best season of her career, but certainly she is in her prime. This 3-year stretch she has been on has been looming as a top 15 player, maybe better on the right weeks. The draw has opened up for Alexandrova. She is probably your number one dark horse to make a semifinal, maybe even make a final at this year's Wimbledon. Like, if something funky happens again, I think she would be the number one dark horse pick for me again. 2-5 over Hahn today. Samsonova, 3-2 over last week's champion Maya Joint. Tough transition to play an event last week. And again, I think getting those 250 points, getting those reps on the grass is more valuable than, again, maybe making this match a little bit more competitive if you're Maya Joint. But if you're Ludmila Samsonova, the number 19 seed, she was in that Goff quarter. You've got Yastremska, Kenin, Kasatkina. It's a fascinating section of the draw. Like, those are your 4 favorites, certainly, to make the quarterfinals in lieu of Coco Gauff. But is there a definitive favorite amongst them? Samsonova probably the highest ceiling of grass court tennis we've seen of the group. We saw Kenin beat Gauff a couple of years ago on this surface, and certainly with the slice she plays, you see the pathway for her to be successful. Kasatkina is always a round of 16 threat. Yastremska, if she continues with this level, why not? Her making a deep run. Again, you've got the presence of Iga Swiatek, who's playing maybe the best grass court tennis of her career and actually had time to prepare on the grass courts in a way her clay success had never allowed her to before. Rybakina looked really good. Those are the clear-cut 2 favorites, and their round of 16 matchup may just well determine who reaches the final out of the bottom half. Andreeva, by the way, a 3-3 win over Mayar Sharif today. She just competes so well. The first serve is there for her. She's finding her rhythm here on the grass courts. And again, her section, she's got Bronzetti next, and then relatively inexperienced, either the teenager Mboko or Haley Baptiste, who just doesn't have a ton of slams under her belt. So, by the way, Mboko and Baptiste is one of my favorite second-round matchups. 2 players who can play with elite power, the creativity of Baptiste, both of them extraordinarily comfortable moving forward. This bottom half of the draw now is absolutely fascinating. And by the way, it's funny, looking across the board, it's like how level it is across the board. Yeah, Swiatek is the favorite to reach the final, but not definitively. And like Andreeva's at 7%. I love Wang Xinyu, a 6.2% chance of making a major final. That might be the highest number she will ever have next to her name, according to the Tennis Abstract Singles forecast. That's really nerding out, I know. The bottom half of this women's singles draw is wide open, and certainly for an Iga Swiatek, who has never had prominent success on this surface before. Yes, there's the Rybakina matchup looming in the round of 16. For both of those players, a chance to just so thoroughly right the ship with how this bottom half has now opened on the women's side. I'm fascinated, absolutely fascinated to see where it goes moving forward, and certainly I think that will be one of our biggest storylines moving forward, is just monitoring where the chaos goes from here as we examine this bottom half of the women's singles draw. Of course, that's my second biggest storyline. Third, and I mentioned this on day one's recap, but the storyline persisted, much like the upsets into day number 2, so got to mention it here one more time. The college guys, just like, maybe go to college if you're an 18-year-old who isn't already winning challengers or already making the main draw of slams. Like, if you're not top 250 in the world, how do you not look at all of the guys having success right now from the college tennis pathway and not think to yourself, all right, I can buy myself some time to get a little stronger, play a bunch of matches, enjoy life outside of tennis, make sure my commitment to this sport is thorough. Like, look, a Fonseca, of course he should go pro. He beat Rublev, round 1 Australian Open, teenager. He was ready to turn pro. Rafa Hodar, though, the junior U.S. Open champion who is ascending the rankings quickly, he thought, no, give me 6 months at Virginia to just steady myself and prepare myself mentally to get ready for the college game. Obviously, you look at all of the guys who have come out of college who are having success at this Wimbledon across the board. I mean, where to start? The prominent one is Ben Shelton, who earns a straight set victory. He's been the face of this operation for a while. He's the number 10 seed. He played and was the 2022 NCAA singles champion. In 3 years, he goes from finishing his college career or leaving early after his sophomore season to top 10 in the world. Obviously, Arthur Rinderknecht, I mentioned earlier. He played 4 years of college tennis. He's been top 100 in the world now for nearly half a decade. And just, again, I'm not going to look up the career earnings, but a sustained pensioned earning pro, dare I say. I'm pretty sure he's been 3 years consecutive top 75 and obviously just picked up the biggest victory of his career here now in his late 20s. Marcos Giron has been a top 50 guy now for 3 years consecutively and obviously has had a long stay now inside the top 100 despite all of his injuries. You know, again, the college men go 7-4-1 today. First and foremost, there are 27 men with college tennis ties in this draw. There are 128 spots, 27 of them, nearly a fifth of it, 20%, going to the college tennis players or players with college tennis ties. Obviously, you know who Ben Shelton, by the way, beat in that 2022 NCAA singles final? August Holmgren, who 3 years later, he picks up his first ever title, his first ever victory in a major main draw. He gets a straight set victory today. So impressive. Jack Pennington Jones given a wild card from the LTA after he finishes his third season at TCU, won a national championship last year. Obviously had Jake Fernley on that team. He was playing above Fernley. He went back for one more season. Their team makes the final. Now here he is announcing, I am going to turn professional. He wins his main draw debut at Wimbledon. Again, straight set victory for him over a top 60 guy in the world. Yeah, grass is the surface where you want to play Thomas Martin Etcheverry, but to watch Pennington Jones drive through his backhand, he just wasn't doing that as confidently last season. To watch August Holmgren so definitively play with an identity, the first serve, the getting forward, knowing who he is, that's something he developed in college. Rinderknecht, that identity as well. Rinky Hijikata, a win today. Straight sets for Rinky, I think, over David Goffin. Nakashima's up 2-1 as well, so again, not going to include him. But through round number 1, this has to be a record. I haven't checked all of the majors yet, but it has to be a record in the 21st century. There are 15 different guys with college tennis ties who are through to round number 2. Only one of them is seeded. Only one of the seeds. Again, you lost, and maybe 2 in Nakashima, so I shouldn't leave him out. But Shelton is seeded, so you'd expect that of him. Borges drew a seed, beat him. Ferry drew a seed, beat him. Brooksby drew a seed, beat him. Rinderknecht drew the 3 seed, beat him. Guys like Diallo, Giron, they were favored. They should win. Nori, Tien, they were favored, should win. They did. Vukic. And then you have guys like Quinn, 2023 NCAA singles champion. Pennington Jones just popping up and establishing themselves so quickly. Even Kovacevic loses a 5-set match today. Eubanks loses a 5-set match today. On the women's side, hasn't been as prominently successful of a Wimbledon, but like you still have 2 top 15 seeds. Emma Navarro, who played 2022 season. Diana Schneider played in the 2023 season. They are both top 15 seeds and comfortably through to round number 2 of this event. Obviously, you've had Kessler's rise, Stern's rise. Those are more players from the 2020s. You look at this event specifically for the college women, Navarro, Schneider, Danielle Collins, who got a win today. And then another 2020s player, former Old Dominion All-American, Yulia Starodubtseva. She earns a 3-set win today. The college women 4-5 overall, but again, the constant presence of players like Navarro, Schneider, Stearns in our lives at the top of the game. Lulu Sun, of course, making the quarterfinals here last year. Unless I am top 250 in the world, top 200 in the world, unless I'm for sure getting into slam qualities, or I'm a teenager but I'm winning challengers and the only reason my ranking isn't higher is because I still need to play more pro opportunities, find more pro opportunities. barring those elite exceptions, and now if you're a top 10 junior in the world, you get exemptions into professional events. I understand the case for a top 10 junior as well, but barring those elite exceptions, and we're talking about 12 of the 1,000 elite level players who could benefit from college tennis and see their game grow from there every season. Like 950 of them should be exploring the college avenue because it's an avenue that sees players produced each and every season. Again, Oliver Tarvett, he's got a year to go back. He earns a main draw win. Technically, Pennington Jones, by the way, could go back as well. Yeah, these guys, these gals, they're really freaking good. This has been an excellent tournament for the college tennis pathway, and perhaps now some of you understand why we value it and why we cover it so closely here at Cracked Rackets. Of course, that is, again, the big headlines. Upsets each and every day and everywhere across our two draws. Favorite in the bottom half now, a wide open question on the women's singles side. And go to college, of course. Those would be the three big takeaways, I would say, from round number one more broadly. But just to run you through everything else you might have missed here on day number two of this event. Let's start with our upsets again. You had 6 on the men's side. It's not as though the women lacked in upsets today. They had their fair share, 7, in fact, here on day number 2. I mentioned the big ones already. Goff, Pegula, Chinwen, all knocked out. Both of the Magdas knocked out. You may have projected that for Magdalena Frich. She might have preferred to play Anastasia Potapova than lucky loser Victoria Mboko, but of course Victoria Mboko ultimately 6-3, 6-2 win over Frich. Mboko's the real deal. If you haven't watched the teenager play with this victory, of course she's up to a new career high. Mboko 82 in the world. The 18-year-old just has real weapons. She has real size, real speed, real pace that she can play with, and the way she imposes herself upon each and every match, so impressive. Again, it's a credit to Victoria Mboko, ultimately able 3-2 over Magdalena Frich. Played fewer than 5. Again, still playing her first round of main draws at the majors. Obviously got a big taste of it at the French Open, but yeah, Mboko's the real deal. Keep an eye on the young Canadian who continues her ascent. You also had Wang Xinyu backing up her finals result from earlier this month. Wang Xinyu 5-2 over, of course, the banged-up Karolina Muchova. It was the pace. It was too much for Muchova's backhand. She just can't hit the two-hander, can't hit through it, and being able to anticipate the slices that were coming didn't matter even if they were chips and charges. Wang Xinyu was prepared for that ball. She found the rhythm, and in set number 2, she just thoroughly capitalized in attacking that backhand corner to open up open space for herself. It's a massive win for Wang Xinyu, who continues to steadily consolidate her top 40 spot in the rankings. 5-2 victory for Xinyu over the 15th seeded Muchova. You had Elisa Yakimo 6-7, 6-1, 6-4 over Magdalena. And then how about Urjavic? Urjavic 3-6, 6-3, 6-4. She knocks out Marta Kostyuk. That is not a good. There's just no denying it. That is not a good loss for Marta Kostyuk, particularly from a set up. You lose to the 25-year-old who, with the win, up to a new career high 135 in the rankings. She qualified into this main draw. She's up 36 spots as a result of her success. So many errors. Just there was no rhythm for Marta Kostyuk, and this gets to maybe the crux of why Kostyuk's upside at times feels limited, because Kostyuk is a tennis chameleon. The better the opponent, the better the Kostyuk. Sometimes the worse the opponent, the worse the Kostyuk. The lack of definitive plan A. She's got a bunch of things she does well, but there's nothing exceptional. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go serve wide, +1 forehand, inside out, and just this pattern is going to win me a bunch of free points. Again, Kostyuk's strength against elite competition is she can do a bunch of things really well and take away the thing you want to do best, but the failure to have easy plays to generate pace and generate opportunities for herself played out here today. Again, 7 upsets on the women's side here today. 7 upsets today makes it 10 overall in round number 1. Again, you lost 4 top 10 seeds. You lost 5 top 16 seeds. Chaos. I like it. We were due, given how on script things have felt, particularly at the highest level. Although you still have Swiatek, you still have Sabalenka, Keys, Andreeva. You still got plenty of big hitters still alive on the women's side, of course. On the men's side, I mean, look, the big one is Zverev gets knocked out. You add him to the loss for Medvedev, the loss for Tsitsipas, guys like Sarundalo and Popyrin who are in their mid to late 20s as well, the absence of Casper Ruud. It's been a really tough Wimbledon and just tough 2025 for the next gen more broadly. But certainly wasn't just Zverev. I mentioned Musetti knocked out, Bublik knocked out. You also had Humbert knocked out in 5 sets, 6-4, 3-6, 6-7, 7-5, 6-2. Ultimately, Gael Monfils, the vet, pulling off another one. Is Gael Monfils at 38 years old one of the 10 best 38-year-olds at their sport relative to every 38-year-old we have seen still playing professionally? I think there's a legitimate case to make, but we can save that discussion for a different day. Still, what a win for the 38-year-old. Bitterly disappointing for Ugo Humbert, another guy who, based off of his level at times in 2024, you would have thought, given the absence of consistency at the top of the men's game, why couldn't he make a push for a top 8 the way a Tommy has, a Demon has, some of these other guys in their mid to late 20s have taken advantage of this opening. This is the big window for the lefty who wants to play aggressively downhill, wants to play flat, and can do so best on this surface. But sometimes you just run into Gael doing Gael things. Gael 5-set win. You had Navone 4 sets over Shapovalov. Shapovalov winning that first set, then just no rhythm. The game fell apart from him. He was complaining about the speed of the surface, but that wasn't the issue for Shapovalov. It just wasn't there. He's just not. Again, and a lot of it has to do with injuries, but it was so explosive at the start of his career, so spontaneous, that power from so many different positions on the court. And he used to do it in rhythm, and it's just not anymore. And it's a big North American hardcourt stretch for a guy who is top 35 in the world. Is there another gear for him to get to once again? Again, this was a guy you would have projected, if the over-under was half at age 20, you would have said he would have taken the over in tour finals appearances in his career. Now you probably lean towards the under, which, again, a lot of injuries play a role in that, but tough loss for Shapo. Brutal loss for Alex Michelsen, second consecutive season. He loses in a 5th set buster, knocked out by Miomir Kecmanovic, 7-6 in the 5th in this one. I mean, again, like, Michelsen's still 20 years old. He's still top 35 in the world. Didn't have a ton of points to defend. It doesn't change my trajectory for him moving forward. Just a heartbreak loss and a massive victory for Miomir Kecmanovic. But again, Brandon Nakashima up 2-1. You assume he wins. The 13 seeds upset in round number 1, still tied for the most ever at a single men's major championship event. So certainly chaos, a permeating theme. And it wasn't just the upsets. You had 10 matches go the distance for the women. You had 9 matches go the distance for the men. Most notably, again, how about Barbara Krejcikova from a set down? Really found her rhythm. 3-6, 6-2, 6-1. She knocks out Alexieva. A massive victory for Clara Tauson, who I rated as one of the 10 best players in the world coming out of the first 2 months of the season. She has not been threatening in that fashion since. Has had some tough draws, but was lacking in signature victories. Just needed a win like this to get her feet underneath her on a surface where her pace should also thrive. Tauson, again, the 3-set win over Watson. Siniakova, Javik, Yakimo, their upsets all in 3 sets. How about the Americans? Haley Baptiste, Katie Volinets, pulling off a couple of 3-set victories from a set down. Yulia Starodubtseva just quietly consolidating a top 80 spot in the rankings. 3-set win over Jones. Zakharova, Begu, your other 3-set winners on the day. Particularly impressed by Zakharova's 3-set win over the always tricky veteran Vika Azarenka. 21 of the 64 round 1 matches on the women's side ultimately going the distance. On the men's side, of course, 9 matches overall going the distance. It was a healthy amount. You felt like wins today were either straight sets or we had marathons. It wasn't one of those days where you saw a ton of 4-set. Like, they literally did. Again, you know what? I think that answer requires no further explanation. Fritz, he had his 5-set win. Rinderknecht, of course, had his 5-set win. Monfils, Munar, Kecmanovic, all 5-set upsets. And that is the other side of the coin. How many of these seeds just weren't able to get through in the biggest moment, in the biggest set? How Medvedev dropping, 2 tie breaks, I think, in his 4-set upset loss as well. Like, the margins were thin. It just speaks to the parity and, again, the thin margins in level separating these players at this point. But boy, again, some fun 5-set matches between seeds in round number 1. For the seeds in round number 1. You also had Arthur Cazot, big 5-set win over Adam Walton. Jesper de Jong, 5-set win over Chris Eubank. Fucsovic, a 5-set win over Kovacevic. Machizuki, finishes his match off from yesterday from 2-0 down. He earns a 5-set victory to knock off Zeppieri. Again, these were your players all advancing to round number 2 via going the distance, all deciding match results thus far. Again, 15 5-set matches on the men's side, 21 3-set matches so far on the women's side. Your other results on the day, because there were plenty of things that went steady. I alluded to some of the seeds in the bottom half for the women's side. Andreeva, comfortable. Sharif didn't really have a weapon to hurt her. If you don't have a weapon to hurt Andreeva, you're not going to out-consistent her. Straight set wins for Andreeva. Swiatek, little shaky at the start, but boy, did she pull away thoroughly and looked scary good against Kudermetova in set 2. Big win for Emma Navarro, of course, tip of the cap. Petra Kvitova, her final Wimbledon, former champion of this event. Certainly a Hall of Fame player by the time when she does formally retire. Navarro 3-1. Needs to get her back half of the season going. It was a good way to get things started. Rybakina was excellent. Kasatkina, Arango is as baseline-centric as a grass court match can be. Straight set win for Kasatkina. Alexandrova, Samsonova, each straight set wins. And then good on Sonia Kenin. Really tricky first set with Taylor Townsend, but just steadied things and got a read on the Townsend serve more than anything in set number 2, 7-6, 6-2. Kenin advances. Again, pretty solid day for the Americans. Collins, McNally, Dolehide, all earning straight set victories as well. Tough one for Iva Jovic, the teenager, knocked out 1-1 by Susan Lamons. How about the vets? If this was 2021, Bencic, Veronika Kudermetova, Maria Sakkari, they'd have all been seeded, and them earning straight set victories would feel less significant than it does with them earning it as unseeded players here at this event. Kalinskaya, straight set victory. There's a name we haven't talked about much. Sonmez continuing to consolidate her top 100 spot. Jessica Busas-Minero, straight set win as well after Saito was forced to retire down in set number 2. That was everything on the women's side. On the men's side, again, despite all of the chaos, there were some seeds who looked the part throughout the course of the day, whether it be Sinner, 6-4, 6-3, 6 love, looked a lot better than he did in Halle. I mean, the theme of everything, and this is the glass half full case, yeah, upsets everywhere. I want to talk about it because I enjoy those sorts of upsets. I think you have to have 8 quarterfinalists. You have to have 4 semifinalists. It's not just the 2 guys in the final. I will say, though, chances of an Alcaraz-Sinner final shooting up with every passing upset and every passing moment where it just becomes clearer and clearer. These are the 2 guys to beat moving forward. Sinner dropped 7 games in the win over Nardi. Draper was cruising. Baez forced to retire with injury, but he was always going to cruise in that match. Good start, though, for the Brit, as now with all of these upsets, you imagine the spotlight will only increase for him. Djokovic should have won this match in straight sets. He had, I'm looking at the stat in front of me, 1.2 million break points in set number 2, and just was not able to convert any of them. Some clutch serving from Muller, some big pulls line where he converted, but a lot of loose balls from Djokovic down the home stretch of that second set. Was a little laboring to start set number 3, but 6-1, 6-7, 6-2, 6-2 in this match probably should have been 6-1, 6-2, 6-2. He's made 6 straight finals. He's Novak freaking Djokovic. He's going to be fine moving forward at this Wimbledon. Demon, good win to steady the ship after an early exit in his grass court warm-up. Straight sets over Carbeas Baena. Tommy Paul making easier work of Johannes Monday than I expected. Straight set win for Tommy. Menchik a 4-set win. Dimitrov, Mahach, Kaboli, all straight set winners. There were some seeds who looked the part, certainly for Dimitrov, an advantageous first-round matchup in Nishioka, whose game was never suited the lefty for the grass courts. But, yeah, Dimitrov looked real good. Mahach, I don't want to say disappointing, but it felt like we were on the verge of top 15. Thomas Mahach coming out of January, and that obviously hasn't unfolded accordingly still. Good win for him. Kaboli, 22 seed. Didn't expect to see that number that high, but he kind of has been that good this year. He has been one of the guys to take advantage of the chaos in a lower tier sense. Your other unseeded players who impressed. I'm telling you, Riley Opelka is looming in this top half of the draw. Opelka, straight set victory over Shevchenko. He was down 2-love and wasn't down the rest of the way. I mean, again, a lot of the seeds still alive in the top half on the men's side in terms of Sinner, Djokovic, Draper, but just keep an eye, I'm telling you, on Riley Opelka, who, of course, next up will have the winner of Nakashima Yunchao Kete whenever that match finishes. 2-1 lead for Nakashima right now. Big win for Garon. Should beat Camila Ugo Arabelli. He does. Hijikata good. Straight set win over Goffin. Holmgren, Pennington, Jones winners. How about Marin Cilic? Is he looming dangerously? Straight set win over Collignon. Vandesen, Schulp, Evans, Sonego, Moutet. Good win for Moutet to back up the grass court season he's had. Would have sucked to have all that success only to lose round one here at Wimbledon. He gets a straight set win. Marozan, Vukic, Martinez, Ofner, your other winners on the day. And then, of course, again, Nakashima up 2-1 on Yun Chaukete. That match will continue tomorrow. That said, again, that's every result we saw on day number 2. Just to, once again, break things down by category for some of you fans who maybe follow groups of players specifically. For the Americans, 7-5 overall on the women's side today. Again, the seeds going 2-2 overall. Now, you lost Goff, you lost Pegula, you almost lost Keys, who needed 3 sets to win yesterday, but Kenin through in straights, Navarro through in straights, Her, Keys, Anisimova, Kruger still alive, 11 American women through. Again, they are Keys, Navarro, Anisimova, Kenin, Kruger, Lee, Collins, McNally, Dolehide, Baptiste, and Volleynuts. 2 more women than we saw reach the second round last year for the Americans, again, where I believe they went 9-6 overall in the round. This time 11-8. Yeah, we lost to top 4 seeds, but still holding strong, and I still think my pre-tournament prediction of Amanda Anisimova would be the last American woman remaining holds strong as well. On the men's side, 5-3-1, and Nakashima's up 2 sets to love. If they go 6-3, it means they would be 10-6-1 overall on the round. They went 6-5, so they've already exceeded that mark. And yeah, you had the 30th seed Mickelson lose, but Fritz got through ultimately in a tricky 5. Shelton, Paul, Tiafoe, all seeds through comfortably. And then a Brooksby who made a final last week. He knocked off a seed in Greek sport. Ethan Quinn, recent top 100 debutant. He consolidates his spot, gets another round 1 win. Young Lerner Tien continues to consolidate his rise. He gets a round 1 victory. Opelka rounding back into form. It's a fun group. And Giron, veteraning. Opelka, again, it's a fun group of Americans still around. And in a round defined by the aforementioned chaos, I don't think I've used that word enough on this show, the American men are injecting, dare I say, a fairly sound performance. The majors have been the redeeming things for the American men in what every other event has been relatively underwhelming, perhaps compared to preseason expectations. That just hasn't been the case at the majors. And again, you see that play out once again with their 9-6-1 overall record coming out of day number 2. Of course, last but not least, and I alluded to some of them earlier, but on the college side of things, the women 4-5 overall through the first 2 days. Navarro, Schneider, each top 12 seeds, each still alive. Danielle Collins, the stalwart, she's still alive. Startup Seva, who's been a top 100 player for a year now. She just casually picks up another win at a major. Kessler lost to Vondrousova. Brandstein lost to Sabalenka. Sharif lost to Andreeva. Some tough draws certainly on the women's side, but plenty of encouraging and intriguing talent to monitor. And then again on the men's side, they're 15-11-1. Only, assuming it's Nakashima, just 2 of the players who advanced to round number 2 will be seeded. And again, the list of players who played in the 2020s in this group: Ferry, Diallo, Tarvit, Quinn, Tien, Shelton, Hichikata, Holmgren, Pennington, Jones. So 9 of the Nakashima played 2019. So 9 of the potentially 16 men remaining played college tennis this decade. It's happening more rapidly. The pathway at college tennis to emerging success on the ATP Tour, men's side, women's side, it don't matter. Again, really, really fun event for people invested in the college tennis world. And certainly if you aren't already, get ready for a taste of Oliver Tarvit on day number 2 as he takes on Carlos Alcaraz on center court. Of course, that one of my favorite matches on the day. And you got a bunch of prominent guys with college tennis ties featuring in my matches of the day. Again, Oliver Tarvit has the athleticism to hang. Can he generate enough pace easily? That's the open question. I look forward to finding out right alongside of you tomorrow. Gab Diallo will win a title on the grass courts here this month. Of course, Taylor Fritz won 2 to go from GMP serve to the big serving Diallo. Just doesn't get any easier for Taylor Fritz. That's probably my most fascinating matchup, particularly considering it'll be his 3rd consecutive day of play. Brooksby versus Fonseca, the unstoppable force versus the immovable object, the creativity and non-conformity of the Brooksby groundstrokes versus the textbook technique excellence of Joao Fonseca, the pace versus the craft. I love that contrast of styles, particularly on this surface. That's going to be a really fun one. FAA versus Struff. It's going to be big hitting tennis. It's not going to be the longest rallies, but it's a must-win match for Felix Auger-Aliassime. And then Tiafoe versus Norrie. Norrie has a better track record on grass courts than Frances Tiafoe. Tiafoe's the 12 seed. Norrie's obviously not in that mix anymore. It's a big moment for Frances. He wins that match again. Pathways opening up as they have in that bottom half of the draw with all the upsets from yesterday. Tiafoe made quarterfinals French. Could he sneak another quarterfinal Wimbledon before we even get to his best major, where, of course, he has semifinal points to defend as well as a Cincinnati final coming up? Big moment for Frances Tiafoe. He's my 5th match on the men's side. On the women's side, I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward day for the women. I do like the match number 1 for me is actually a match featuring none of the seeds. I think Vondrousova versus Raducanu is awesome. Vondrousova's first 3 matches of Kessler, Raducanu, and probably Sabalenka. Like, if she ends up winning this tournament back-to-back, it will be one of the more impressive runs we have seen at a major of late. Vondrousova is the favorite. She can do more things to hurt Raducanu than vice versa, but Raducanu moves well. She attacks you if you give her time, and she played with an energy in round number 1. This home crowd, this environment, she thrives within it. Really looking forward to that match. Sinyakova's got to play 2 days in a row. Her power tennis versus Osaka's power tennis. It's a massive moment for Naomi Osaka just to reach a 3rd round, get some momentum before going into an obviously North American hardcourt swing where her best tennis has been produced. Massive opportunity for the former Grand Slam champion. Sabalenka, fun contrast that she'll take on Bushkova. Kruger, 31 seed, the young American. She'll take on a vet in Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. Big chance for Pavs to make another second-week push. What about Ann Lee? Can she get a signature victory taking on 24th-seeded Elisa Mertens? Again, good matches across the board, of course. We will be back tomorrow to break all of them down as we will continue to provide daily recaps of all of the action at these 2025 championships at Wimbledon. Of course, the reason we can do that, because of the tireless efforts of course, our super producer Daniel Westoff does a heck of a job day in, day out, making sure all this content can be available for all of you tennis fans. Of course, a shout out to him, a shout out as well to the support we get from all of our friends at the Laurel Springs School, and of course, a shout out to all of you fans who took the time to join us here on our Crack Rackets YouTube live stream. Again, in the future, I will try to do a better job of monitoring if any of you have any questions throughout and what I can do to answer those for you. Of course, would love to interact with as many of you as possible throughout the course of this major. That is why we're trying to do more things on our Crack Rackets YouTube channel to have those opportunities. Of course, for those of you listening in the podcast format, we always appreciate you as well. And again, rest assured, you can hear these podcasts each and every day on the Mini Break podcast feed. So go hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't miss out on the Great Shot Podcast, Cracked Interviews podcast feeds either. With that said, for our fantastic super producer Daniel Westoff, our friends at the Laurel Springs School, and from all of us here at both Cracked Rackets and the Believe Podcast Network, I'm your host, Alex Gruskin. You've been listening to another edition of the Mini Break. You know what we say. That's the break. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.